Hi guys, welcome to the recap show. Today's movie recap will cover a 2019 thriller movie named A Model Kidnapping. Sit back, grab a drink, and enjoy. A young lady named Grace poses at a low-budget studio and gets her picture taken by the photographer, who advises her to show a little more skin if she's to land better modeling gigs. Since she's desperate to make it in modeling, Grace takes her blouse off to reveal her spaghetti mini gown. The photographer takes a few shots and tells her to take her top off for better photos. Grace frowns at this and walks out of the studio. A few hours after twilight, Grace goes on a date with her boyfriend Matt. Matt and Grace have a conversation about her obsession with modeling. Their night ends as Grace gets to see her mother, who advises her to go to college instead. Seeing the irritating persistence from her mother, Grace goes home by herself. At home, she finds out she's been rejected by the modeling agency she applied to. She checks online again and applies for a rather sketchy modeling gig. The next day, Grace receives a call from the photographer she applied to earlier, telling her she's been accepted for the role. Happy Grace checks the man's portfolio and prepares for her trip to Miami. After writing her mom a note, she takes the train and arrives in Miami by noon. Nicole, the photographer's assistant, welcomes her to the big city and drives her to the photographer's apartment. They have a nice little chat throughout the trip until they arrive at a well-furnished house. Grace gets to meet the weird photographer, Hunter, who takes a few shots of her before letting her settle in. By nightfall, Hunter somehow tricks Grace into having dinner late. This way, she would be forced to stay over his place for the night. After dinner, Hunter shows Grace to the guest house she could stay at for the night. Unknown to Grace, she was about to be abducted. Hunter locks her in a guest room and walks away. When Grace finds out the situation she's in, it's already too late. She tries calling 911, but Hunter answers the phone and breaks the bad news to her. The next day, Matt pays Grace's mother a visit to talk about Grace's sudden disappearance. Meanwhile, Hunter brings Grace breakfast and explains the rules of his gig to Grace, telling her she has no choice but to settle and model for his adult channel. When she gets disobedient, Hunter shows her a live recording of her mother. Grace immediately succumbs to his request and preps for her first show. Hunter orders her to use the cheerleader outfit for her debut show while he texts Grace's mom, telling her she's fine. He posts a photo on Grace's Instagram to make it seem like she was enjoying her time there. Grace's mom sees the message and photo and immediately calls Matt, who calms her down. Back at Hunter's luxury apartment, Hunter guides Grace on her first show. A reluctant Grace follows his orders and shouts into the live cam for help. Hunter stops the stream and tells Grace to quit trying to escape. Around 9 p.m. that night, Hunter brings Grace some dinner and breaks it to her that people loved her debut show. He proposes a celebration for her unexpected success, but Grace rejects his kindness. Hunter takes away all sharp objects from her and threatens to terminate her if she doesn't play along with his charade. After his speech with the trapped teen, he makes his way to Nicole, who whines about how much attention he's been giving Grace lately. The next day, Hunter explains the rules of that day's livestream to Grace. Grace dresses up and puts on a show for her invisible viewers. She does it so well that the next couple of scenes show Grace getting good at her new job, even to the point where Hunter gets aroused when she performs. While she settles into her new job, Matt and Mom keep getting, "I'm fine," messages from the narcissist. On a sunny afternoon, Nicole sneaks into Grace's room in the guest house and tells her to stop leading Hunter to get attracted to her. A fight breaks out and Hunter settles the band between both girls. He shunts Nicole out of the room and talks with Grace. Grace gets all cute and cuddly around Hunter, which works. Back in Grace's hometown, Matt and Grace's mother pay the police station a visit. They try explaining to a detective that Grace was actually kidnapped. However, the detective tells them there's no evidence to prove she was abducted. Matt leads Grace's mother out of the station as she tears up and vows to find her daughter. Meanwhile, Hunter lets Grace smell fresh air for the first time since she was captured. It was her birthday. Before dining, Hunter gives Grace a nightgown, which she puts on immediately. Unknown to them, Nicole was watching the two of them from the camera. The next morning, Grace brings up the idea of being on a team with Hunter. Hunter's on board with this, as she somehow convinces the narcissist to take her to the store to get some art supplies she could use for getting her drawings for the show. Hunter says yes to her request, but asks Nicole to get the supplies instead. After getting Nicole to do the errand, he offers to take Grace shopping. She accepts his request and is driven to a mid-tier clothing store. While in the store, Grace tries to signal the keeper she's been held against her will. Grace gets to the changing room, punctures her finger, and uses her blood to write something on the mirror. Unfortunately for her, Hunter gets to her first and takes her out of the store. When they get home, Hunter is heartbroken over what Grace did to him. He promises to make her pay as he locks her and preps her for another live stream. This time, he allows Nicole to enslave session with her until she passes out. At that moment, Matt's friend shows Matt a live stream airing on a site. Seeing this, Matt immediately sends Grace a text threatening to come after her perpetrator, Hunter. Hunter pauses the live stream and tells Grace to tell Matt to back off her tail. Grace calls Matt and breaks up with him. After the call, Matt calls Grace's mother and breaks the bad news to her. After a few back and forth conversations, Matt asks his friend to trace Grace's location from her computer. There, they trace the ad that changed everything to the photographer, Hunter's handle. By nightfall, Nicole snoops around Hunter's laptop and finds out Hunter's former abductees were put in the ground, as opposed to the story Hunter told her. She keeps quiet about this and continues her night. In the meantime, Hunter pays Grace a visit and tells her he threw her phone away. Grace keeps up the act and says it's for the best. After the live stream with Grace, Nicole challenges Hunter over the photo she saw on his laptop. She wants an out, but Hunter threatens her she'd go down with him if his secret leaks out. Grace's mother makes it to the detective that night and tries to prove to the officer that her daughter's been abducted. The next day, Grace tweaks the smoke detector in the room. She quickly hides as Hunter comes to tell her about the live stream starting in the next 5 minutes. In this live stream, Grace unclothes herself and paints herself. She finishes her painting and sobs soft tears on camera as she knows there's no going back. That night, Grace waits for Nicole and Hunter to fall asleep. When they do, she cooks up some chemicals to mess with the smoke alarm. Once she sets it off, she hides and waits for Hunter to come looking for her. When he does, she stabs him in the eye with her heels and runs frantically to the main house. There, she tries calling 911 but doesn't get the call connected in time. Hunter removes the shoe and drags her back to the guest house. While he washes his eyes, he hears a police siren outside. He quickly covers his injured eye, arms himself, and attends to the officer. The officer asks all the right questions and gets answers to all of them. When the time comes to conduct a search of the house, Hunter lets him in. The cop searches through the house but doesn't find Grace. When he gets to the guest house, he still doesn't see Grace banging the window opposite the entrance door. Just as the cop's about to figure out the situation, he gets hailed to check out another issue. The next morning, Matt finally finds the ad Grace clicked to get her modeling gig with Hunter. Meanwhile, Hunter digs a grave for Grace as he plans to take care of her very soon. After digging, he checks some pictures of Grace on his laptop. At the same time, Matt and his friend find the email Grace received from Hunter the day she left for Miami. Simultaneously, Hunter sends Nicole on an errand to pick another victim for their charade. Unknown to Nicole, Matt was already in Miami and was stalking her. He follows Nicole back to Hunter's house and calls Grace's mother on his way there. In the meantime, Grace keeps trying to find a way out of the house when Hunter storms into her room and fusses over his next victim, ghosting at the last minute. He tells Grace he's already dug her grave and is now so confused since he didn't have someone to replace her. After pacing through the room, he decides to terminate Grace and record the entire process. Matt arrives at Hunter's residence after twilight and breaks in. Meanwhile, Hunter tells Nicole about his plan on recording Grace's termination. Nicole tries to reason with him, but he leaves anyways and knocks out Matt, who is trying to force his way into Grace's guest house. A few minutes later, Hunter brings Grace to meet Matt all tied up. He then orders Grace to go dress up for Matt. Grace walks to the dressing room and pulls out a bar of peanut chocolate. She throws it all in her mouth and rushes to kiss Hunter. Hunter, who's allergic to peanuts, gets a reaction from this which causes him to gag. Grace seizes the opportunity to free Matt and run away. Hunter, on the other hand, rushes to the sink to use his allergy medication. There, he terminates Nicole with a knife, walks outside of the house, and dies on the pavement. A year later after the incident, Grace, her mother, and Matt all reminisce on a beach. Thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications to receive future recaps.